Okay, I hope you're ready to follow along with our painting video, learn how to paint. You're gonna need some paint with your primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and then we're gonna use black and white as well. You're going to need your bucket of water with paintbrushes, maybe some paper towel to dab your brushes on, and a pencil, paper, and your paintbrush. Whoop, we already covered that. Okay, here we go. First thing I want you to do is write your name in the top corner and your class code. Beautiful. And that's all you need to do with pencil right now. What we're going to do first is we're going to do tints. So, actually, I lied. Use your pencil. Please write tint, T-I-N-T. What that means is you add white, so you can make a little note to yourself about that. So you can just do a little plus sign and the word white. So it's a color plus white. And how we're going to do that is we're going to make a little value scale. So that means we're going from light to dark. So what I'll do is I'll grab some white and I'm just going to paint on some white right here. And then I'm going to grab the teensiest, tiniest bit of blue. Teeny, tiny, tiny bit. Where's my camera? See? Such a tiny amount of blue. And I'm going to start to paint it on there. And you can see what a big difference that is. That tiny amount of blue changed my paint dramatically. And now I'm going to grab a little bit more blue. Grab a little bit more blue. A little bit more blue. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush this time. And I'm going to wipe it off on my paper towel so I don't have a big watery mess. And I'm going to go ahead and just dip my paintbrush right in the blue and put blue on this side. So this is called a value scale. It means I'm going from my dark to the light. And I want you to notice, this is super important, that whenever you mix colors, you always start with the light color and add the dark into it, because you saw what a big difference that made right here. If I do it the other way around, let's just pretend, and I take blue, here's my blue, and I put some blue down, and then I grab a teensy tiny bit of white, and then start to paint, it barely made any difference at all. So I would have to add so much white to get to this light blue that it'd be a waste of paint. So just kind of remember that. When you're mixing a tint, you always start with white and then you add your color to it. Okay, so the cool thing about tempera is that I can go back into it even if it's kind of drying a little bit with just a wet paintbrush. So I dip my brush in the water and I can go, I don't want it too wet, so I'm just kind of put down the paper towel a little bit. And I can go like this and start to blend those colors even more. I'm just sort of lightly sweeping my paintbrush along the paint, just so lightly. And then I want it to blend a little bit more into this white, so I'm gonna just dip my brush right in the white, put white on here again, and start to blend it back in. So now I'm getting a nice gradient, or some of you might know the word ombre, where you're going from a light to a dark sort of on our painting. So that's how you do a tint. Now I want you to write shade, and then in parentheses that means you're adding black. So we have this nice tint of light blue all the way down to dark, or regular blue, but now let's take our blue and make it down to black. So here I'm going to go ahead and put blue here, and since black is darker than blue, I'm going to start with my lighter color, which is the blue. I'm going to grab a teensy bit of black and start to mix in my black with my blue. I'm kind of turning my brush as I go to sort of mix. Sometimes you get a bunch of paint on one side of your brush, so then you can turn it and you can mix it. And I'm going to grab some more black. And so now I should be going all the way down to black. I should note that you can do this with any color, not just blue. You could do it with red, yellow, green, purple. You can make a tint of any color and a shade of any color. All right, there we go. So we have a tint. We have a shade. The next thing I want to show you is color mixing. So what I want you to do right now is kind of just draw a circle of sorts, and then draw a triangle inside your circle, and you're going to focus on these areas right here. We're going to make a color wheel. And those little areas around these circles that I made around the triangle are going to be our primary colors. So that's red, yellow, and blue. So you can do it in any order than you want, but I guess to make it simple, just kind of follow along with me. Let's put red on top. Rinse our brush. And we're gonna put yellow on another one, the next one on the side, almost like it's a clock. We're gonna go clockwise. And then we're gonna finish off with our blue right here. Now the cool thing about the primary colors is that they can make all of the other colors in our rainbow if they're mixed properly. So let's pretend that this is sort of like math or like a clock. And if you take red and yellow and you mix them together, you're gonna put that color right here. Some of you might know what that's gonna be. I'm gonna go ahead and use some yellow. And then I'll grab a little bit of red. And I'm gonna mix them together, and that should make orange. So red and yellow are gonna make orange. Now on this part of my color wheel, I'm gonna take blue and yellow and I'm gonna mix them together, and I'm gonna put that color right in between them. So I'm gonna use yellow. I'm picking my lighter color. When I mix colors, you always start with the lighter color, which between blue and yellow is yellow. And then we're gonna add a little bit of blue. And voila, I have green. Now, it's really easy to add too much blue. So if you end up putting blue and yellow together and it still just looks like blue, then you're gonna need more yellow. So there's our green. And then to make our last, these are called secondary colors. So we have primary colors, and we're making secondary colors now. We're gonna mix blue and red together. So I'm gonna put a little bit of blue here. I did it backwards. I should have started with red because red's lighter than blue. Even teachers make mistakes. Okay, and I'm gonna put those together, and that should make a purple. It's a really dark purple. It almost looks like black. So what you could do is take a teensy bit of white here and mix it in to lighten it up, and then you should be able to see, oh yeah, that's a really nice purple. Okay, so this is called the color wheel. And you have your primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue. And then you have your secondary colors, which are our orange, our green, and our purple, or violet, if you will. So that's our color wheel. Awesome. You have a tint that's white going into a color. You have a shade, which is a color going into black. You have a color wheel with your primary colors, and then you made your own secondary colors. Okay, and now just for funsies, on the bottom, we're gonna kind of divide this into two sides. On one side, we're gonna practice an eyeball, so you can go ahead and just do a bump up, a bump down, a circle, and a bigger circle. If your eye looks weird, don't worry about it. This is just practice. And then on this side, we're gonna do a tree, and we'll get to that momentarily. So for our eyeball, I want you to all go ahead and start with, a lot of times when you're painting, it's nicer to start with the lighter colors because then you're not worried about accidentally mixing it with a dark color. So think about what color you want your eyeball. If you want to do it brown, for example, we haven't mixed brown yet. So how you mix brown is you mix all the primary colors together. So we'll go ahead and grab a little bit of yellow, and I'm just going to use this area up here. It's my practice paper. I'm going to snag some blue, and yellow and blue, as we know, will make a green. So what I want to do is neutralize that green. And I'm going to use the opposite color, or my last primary color, which is red. And I'm going to mix it together. And this can be a little tricky sometimes to make it look like brown because it still looks like green. If it still looks like green, I want to pick the color that's opposite on the color wheel, which is red. So we're going to add some more red. There we go. Now I'm starting to get a brown. Oops, whoa, my paintbrush got away from me. It's okay. Still looks a little bit green. Grabbing a little bit more red. Okay, now I'm getting a brown. I see it. It's happening. You can also use newspaper to mix on if you don't want to mix on your paper, on your practice piece. Okay, so I have a brown here. And a lot of eyes have kind of a darker ring around the outside. So you can take your brown and do a darker ring on the outside. And then grab a little bit of white. And my paintbrush still has brown on it, so I don't even have to worry about mixing a new color. It's just kind of mixing right on my paper, right on my paintbrush. So there I have kind of an eye. I'm gonna grab a little bit of black and put that on the outside of my iris. It's the color of your eye. I'm gonna dip my brush right in the water so that it can kind of blend a little bit nicer. Soften it up a little bit. So the cool thing about paint, I don't know if you notice, is I'm just kind of working back into it. So if you make a brush stroke that you don't really like, it's not a big deal because you can kind of paint back over it. Sometimes you might have to let it dry a little bit, but you can always fix a painting. Okay, now I'm gonna do the pupil. Oh, you know what I forgot to show you? Flip your paintbrush around so that you have the handle and you can scratch into your paint and make some cool designs. You can kind of make the lines inside of the iris. The iris is a muscle after all, so it has these little lines that run through it. Now my eye looks weird because I need to have the pupil, which is black. I saved that for the end so that I didn't have to worry about painting around it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a circle in there of black. And then I can paint around the outside of this eye if I want to. And I have a lovely eyeball. If you want to make it feel a little bit more realistic, you can get a nice clean brush, dip your brush in white, and you can do a couple dots of white on there to look like a reflection. And that's pretty fun. So that's an eyeball. Now let's do a tree. If you want to try and paint a landscape or trees, something that can be really fun is to do something like a impressionist do, which is kind of paint with little lines and dots. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some of this brown that I had already made for my eye, and I'm gonna go ahead and just do a letter Y. Maybe I'll make another little letter Y. Or not Y, but just kind of make little branches coming off of that Y. Okay, so there's my tree. I'll make the branch or the trunk a little bit thicker on the bottom. And now I need to mix some green. So that's gonna be some yellow and a little bit of blue. And I have this nice dark green that I've mixed here on my newspaper. And now I can start to just do dot, 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 dot. And you'll notice that trees have, like each leaf has different shades of green on it. Or if it's fall, you would use reds and oranges and yellows, right? If we're doing a summer tree. Well, now what I might do then is grab a little bit more yellow and mix a different type of green, a lighter green, and go on top of that. And maybe since I still have paint on my brush, I'll just get some yellow and start to go on top with some yellow. And it'll start to blend all on its own on my paper. So now I'm kind of getting this lovely tree look, and you can sort of see the branches peeking through behind those leaves. And then we can go ahead and put some grass on the bottom. Maybe you can start to have a little bit of fun putting some like hints of apples or cherries or something in there. Maybe there's one on the ground. Okay. Okay, so this is our skill builder for today. Again, it's just practicing. We want to learn how to make a tint. So adding white slowly, a shade, adding black slowly, a color wheel, which I kind of messed mine up a little bit, but that's okay, it's just practice. Kind of make a note to yourself what the primary colors are, what the secondary colors are, how to mix brown, and then how to use brown to create like an eye and a tree. So just have some fun with this.